The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the seminar. It's a beautiful day out here in Boston, and I want to make sure you can all see the screen and hear me okay. So if you notice on your screen, you're going to see a little chat box on the right. If you don't mind, I want you to get used to right now, just type in there and say, yes, I can hear you okay, and I can see your screen. So right in that chat box, right on your screen, if you all don't mind, just type in there and say, hi, Andrea, I can hear you, everything's okay. Right? Someone chatted in, they can hear me perfect. All right, so throughout this seminar, you're going to have questions. And what I'd like you to do, again in the same chat box, I would like you to ask me questions, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the entire seminar first, and then I'm going to answer your questions in the end. But as we're going to cover a lot of information today, so I don't want your questions to be forgotten, so please type them as you have them in this chat box here. And then at the very end, when I'm finished, then I'm going to answer all your questions. All right? So you are at the right seminar. You are listening to the right information. If you are a new financial rep or an advisor, and you're thinking of hiring and growing your business, you're also at the right seminar. If you're an existing advisor or financial rep, I'm going to use those terms interchangeably, by the way, and you want to take your business to the next level. If you feel you're stuck and you can't grow, you're at the right place. If you're a top producer, but you have no systems, or you want better systems, or you want a better team, or you want to grow your team, or you feel you have no leverage, you feel that you're working hard, you have a lot of piles and papers and information, but you feel like you're doing all the work. You're also at the right seminar if you cannot keep staff. If your staff is going in and out of that door every 2 years, you have the problem, you're at the right place. You're at the right seminar if you constantly feel overwhelmed. If right now, if I went to your email inbox and there's more than 50 emails you have to answer, if you're sitting there with 20 cases that have to be prepped, if you have a list of a lot of people that only you can call back, if you have piles of paper on the right, if you have reading material, if you feel swamped and overwhelmed, man, you're really at the right place. You're in the right seminar if you feel that you have not enough time to see people. If you're seeing like maybe 1 or 2 people a day and you just wonder, what am I doing the rest of the day? You're at the right place. If you are the only person on your team who can generate revenue, you are definitely at the right place. If you feel like you're a bad manager and leader and you need help with that, you're at the right place. Or if you feel like, Andrea, I just want to see people, I don't like this management stuff, you're at the right place. If you're going to join staff with another FR, in other words, if you're going to have a shared staffing model, you're definitely at the right place. If you only have 10 years left in the business and you want to leverage your remaining time, you're definitely at the right place. If you need a succession plan and do not want your clients to go in the orphan program, you're at the right place. So I hope all of you know that I understand you, that I understand your issues, I understand your concerns. Why? Because I've been coaching you for 20 years now. I've been in the trenches listening to both financial reps and advisors and their staff and working with them. So I want to begin with a dream that I would like to share for all of you. And see if this doesn't resonate with you. Here's the dream. I dream that each of you wake up every day, and when you wake up, you're living in your dream house. And that house could be different for everyone listening to the seminar. Some of you may want a beautiful home on the golf course. Some of you may want a penthouse in Manhattan. Some of you may want a small cottage in the mountains. Whatever that is, you're living with it. And you're living with the right people, or you're living alone, or you have your favorite dog, your cats, or whatever. But it's life by design. You're living at the right place. When you wake up every morning, you have your favorite cup of coffee, your tea, your milk, or whatever. In other words, it's life by design. When you wake up, you're all dressed up, ready to work. You walk out of your house, and there's your limo driver. And yes, I did say limo driver. You get into the car. When you get into the car, you say, good morning. You know that limo driver, why? He's part of your team. He's friendly. He's energized. He makes you feel wonderful. He drives you to your office. You listen to the music you love to listen to, or you listen to the motivational tapes you love. You get out of the office. You walk into your beautiful office. Again, that's office by design, whatever that may look like. When you walk into your office, you go into your beautiful office alone. You say good morning to your team members. You meet with your director of operations, who's wonderful, who makes you feel great. Not a problem. Your files are ready for the day. You may walk around, say good morning to your office, and basically you leave. You go back into your limo. Now, unlike many of you, you're not worried about where you're going. Your limo driver already knows that. So on your way to your first meeting, you can either relax, or you can go over the case design that you're going to be presenting for that day, or you go over notes for the meeting. You get to the first meeting. You come back. You hop in your limo again. Your limo driver drives you to your second meeting. As you sit in the limo car, you're doing complete case notes. They're done by the time you arrive at your second destination. You complete that, and you see 5 people that day. You come back. It's 5 o'clock at night. Your case notes are done. You're not frazzled at all. You're relaxed. You do not have to worry about traffic, anything. You get back to your office. You say hello to everyone. You may answer a few questions. And you go home at night. I want you all to think this. How many of you would love that life? How many of you have the vision for that life? How many of you have the team and the infrastructure and staff for that life? This is exactly what we're talking about. If you look back to begin with, you have to look back and say, why did I go into this business? And most of you went into this business because you had the option to have whatever life you wanted to have. You had the option to build a business which could give you leverage of your income. You had unlimited potential for income. It could help you build whatever lifestyle you want to build. But for many of you sitting out there today and listening to this, here's what's happened. Many of you have built your worst nightmare. You've built piles of paper all around you. You've built emails of thousands of emails sitting there. You have to do everything, and you can't figure out a way out of it. Well, today, I have great news for you. I'm going to be the person that's going to walk your hand on how can you have that dream life? How can you get out from where you are right now? How can you grow towards that dream life? How can you grow through the ultimate dream, which is that you just see people? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, before I want to get into the details, I really want to talk with you a little bit about myself so you kind of know who am I? Who am I here to be talking to all of you? So I want to go back into my background a little bit and about my journey in this business and my journey to how I got here today talking with you. Originally, way back when I was going to be an Olympic coach, so for those women out there, I was one of the forerunners of Title IX, fighting for equality for women in sports. I played Division I volleyball at the UW-Madison when, believe me, it was not fashionable to be in sports at that time, but I just absolutely loved it. Then I had the opportunity to train, went to graduate school, and had the opportunity to train under some of the world-class Olympic and world-class coaches and under some of the leading sports psychologists of the world. So coaching has always been my passion. I had a nationally rated track team. I had 160 girls, 4 assistant coaches. Did research in kinesiology, so I studied both the science and the art of coaching. Kinesiology was the science. Went on to teach at the college level. very young. I was only 25, had a professorial position, and coached women's basketball at the college level. So this has been my passion my whole life, has been coaching, has been figuring out the psychology. I got married after that time, had 2 children, went out of the workforce. When I came back into the workforce, I got back in and started working with a brand new managing partner. And after a couple months, I looked at him and I said, you know what, Bob, I'm going to coach your financial reps. And he looked at me and he laughed and he goes, Andrea, you've never sold insurance or investment. What makes you think you can coach them? And I laughed and I said, well, Bob, I've watched your coaches, and that's one thing I do know how to do. So he was really kind, and he said, all right, let's give it a try. And so what we did was he gave me 2 guys that had been in the business maybe 17, 18 years, and they're, you know, one of those guys at the end of the hallway, and there's cobwebs, and they're dying on the vine. And these guys were lovely as well. And I said, I want to coach you. They all sort of laughed, and they said, okay, because they had nothing to lose. It was free. Let's do it. So we started in September with these 2 guys, and everyone was watching. Well, here's what I did. I took the same philosophy that I learned in athletics and applied it to this business, which was this, as simple as this: learn to master the basics, and you'll have an Olympic team. I applied it here. I got them to master the basics. Well, September we started. That October, one guy, his production was #1 in the agency. The other guy, the next year, doubled his production and only worked 4 days. That was 20 years ago. Since that time, my business, knock on wood, has grown through word of mouth. Well, let me take you on that journey to 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, all my top reps would start saying to me, Andrea, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can't see people. I said, what do you mean you can't see people? And they said, you don't understand. I'm opening up all these cases, but they're complicated. I'm the only one that can do the case design. Maybe some of you right now are relating to that. They'd say, I'm getting complicated questions. I'm the only one that can answer it. No one on my staff is licensed. I have to do the complicated case design. I have to answer it. Of course, I've been trained. I have to call referrals. So they'd say, plus this investment work, it's paper heavy. I have to train that. I have to do that. And I hear, I have to do this. I have to do this. And they say, we're overwhelmed. And I thought, well, maybe they're just not organized. So I remember in Boston, I went to one guy's office, and I spent a couple of days organizing him. When I left, there wasn't a piece of paper file on his desk. I said, oh, I have it. 3 months later, went in his office again. It was worse. I thought, oh, this isn't it. What am I going to do? I read Michael Gerber's book called The E-Myth, and it was like a rock fell on my head. And I thought, oh my goodness, I get this. Michael Gerber stated that the best businesses in the world have the best business systems. Think about this. He said the best business in the world has the best business systems. And I thought, I get this. This industry has a great selling system, but it has no business systems. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you all came into this business, everyone does the same thing. You first start, you take a fact finder, you leave that meeting, you go back, you create some prep work for them. You come back, you attempt to close the prep work, maybe they want you to modify the plan, maybe you go back several times. They finally agree, and then you fill out an application, and you have to get a medical, and you have to get a check. When that all gets completed, they go into underwriting. They go through the underwriting process. If it gets approved, they get a policy deliberate system complete. No one messes up that. That's a system that's done from A to the end, right? But now let's think about what's in between. And I'll ask you all these questions. I want you to think about it for yourself. How do you deliver the case notes? I don't know. What goes in these case notes? I don't know. How much detail's in these case notes? I don't know. Where does the file go? I don't know. Does it go on your desk? Does it go on the staff's desk? Where does it go? What information is entered into your client tracking system? I don't know. And some people say, Andrew, why is that even important? Anything you just asked. Well, let's look at why it's important. If all the files come back to you and you don't have case notes done, many of you know that. And let's say you see 3 people a day, By the third day, many of you have 9 files on your desk waiting to be processed. Your team is waiting because you haven't done the case notes, and then you want to throw up because you've got all that work to do, right? Maybe some of you have that sitting there right now. That's not a system. That's dependent on you. What goes in the client tracking system, if you don't have that detail figured out down the road, when you want to do marketing, let's say there's a great product that just came out that's for, let's say, lawyers, I use as an example, but you never put occupation in to begin with every prospect and client, and now down the road you want to query your system and develop lists for all lawyers, you can't do it. So I want you to write this down for yourself. When developing systems, the devil's in the detail. And if you don't get the details to your systems, here's what's going to happen. You as the owner will always be bogged down, because what people are going to do is they're going to always come back and have to ask you the question. So if I'm the business owner and if I don't have a system-dependent business, people have to say, Andrea, do you want to see this guy or do you not want to see this guy? Do you want to ask this guy referrals? Do you not want to ask this guy referrals? How do you want this case prepped? What applications do you want in there? Aren't these some of the questions that your staff asks you every day? And you have to think, how much time is that taking? How exhausting is that? What if you grow? Well, you can't grow on that system. You can't grow because that's a people-dependent system. And most of it's dependent on you. You're stuck. So what I have to do first is I have to begin to change your mind. You have to begin to change your mind. If you want that dream life, I need every one of you listening today, you've got to open yourself up to a new model and a new way of doing business. And you have to unlearn what you've learned. And what do I mean by that? When you're a brand new rep, you're trained to do what? You're trained to make all the phone calls yourself. You're trained to call your referrals. You're trained to do your case prep. You're trained to do everything yourself. But I'm going to ask you all a question. If today I had a team of people here in my office, and for every one of you sitting out there for the next month, I scheduled 5 new appointments every day, could you handle it? And I know the answer to that question because I asked that as I travel around the country, and top producers will tell me they couldn't handle it. And it's not that they could not see 5 people a day. I'm sure every one of you sitting on this phone call could see 5 people a day. It's the fact that you don't have the systems, the infrastructure, and the staff to handle that. So if we look at the very beginning, the very thing you want to do more of, which is see more people, your model is broken at the beginning. You can't do that. So we've got to change your model. And we've got to make your model system dependent, not people dependent. So what I'm going to begin to talking about next is this. First of all, I want to first lay out a list. You can see there's 28 systems. So for the past 10 years, I've had the privilege and opportunity to work with financial reps advisors in their teams in developing systems. I've worked with teams in the seats, and how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we make this system better? How do we tweak that system? What do you like? What do you not like? We've developed systems for everything you see here, all 28. Now, today you can imagine there's no way we, within this short period of time, are going to get through 28 of them. It would be impossible. In fact, we probably could spend a day on each one of these. But here's the good news for you. I've got these all written. I've worked with teams. I know with them. So I'm going to start you at the beginning for everyone here, because I don't care if you've been in the business for 20 years and you're $1 million producer. I always start everyone at the beginning, and that's at the very top, the vision. What are you building? We're going to look at the corporate hierarchy chart and the hiring system, because if we get this wrong, everything else will be wrong. So we're going to start with, what are you building? What is your model? What's your vision? Then I'm going to teach you the importance of a corporate hierarchy chart, and then we're going to go into how do you hire. So let's talk about your vision and your business model. Now, by the way, there is no right or wrong business model for all of you. And what do I mean by that? Some of you want to stay small. You don't want to have a big staff. You don't want to have a big team. Maybe you want to have 2 people. That's your business model. All right? Some of you say, I want to get to be big. Some of you want to join forces with another advisor. Some of you may want to join forces and create a producer group with 4 or 5 or 6 advisors. There's no right or wrong. But what is wrong is building the wrong model for you. So what I do when we go deeper into building models, I like to ask you guys a few questions, okay? Do you like to do things alone? Or do you like to do them with another team member, meaning another advisor? If you're thinking, I want to do another advisor because I don't want to spend for staff, you know, I'll take the person in the morning, I'll take the person, and they'll take them in the afternoon. That's a temporary model if you're going to build big. That's just a temporary model. And we'll talk about how you move that into a permanent model. So you first have to think, what am I building? Who am I? Now, if you don't know, we start with 1. We start with your first staff person and build from there. But I teach people to build models, but what I do when you build a model, I always build it with separation starting first. What do I mean by that? If you're going to go in partnership with someone, I want you to start with, okay, if it doesn't work in two years, how do we separate ourselves? That's critical. That's critical. Because frankly, I'll be real frank with everyone sitting here, I've never seen a partnership work in the long run. Not to say it can't, but a lot of them eventually break up. So I like you to build a model where, yeah, you can build with another person, but then down the road, if it doesn't work out, it's real easy. You can separate easy. Okay. No matter what you're building, though, there's 3 areas I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, all of you need to think about leverage of your time. Number 2, I want you to think of leverage of your income. And number 3, peace of mind. Because if we go back to the dream, why you came into this business, most of you came into it because you wanted to have time. Meaning if you wanted to take a week or 2 vacation, you could do it. But some of you can't do it now. Because if you take 2 weeks vacation now, most of you, your business would stop. Why would it stop? You've got the wrong business model. So, for leverage of your time, here's questions you can ask yourself. Who else on your team can generate income? Number 2, who else can call referrals on your team? So that means you can literally go away vacation for 2 weeks, come back. I have clients, they go away for 2 weeks, they come back, and they have 25 appointments on the books for the week they come back. Why? That system was set up. Here's a 3rd one, new one. Who else can open up new markets on your team? Why does this just have to be you? Who else can create centers of influence on your team? Why does it just have to be you? You see, if I take these 4 items and I build a team or on my staff, 2 other people can generate income. 2 other people can call referrals. 2 other people can open new markets. And 2 other people can create centers of influence. Guess what I have? I can go on vacation in a month and my business will still grow. Because I built the model that's different than that solo model. Think about this. There's no right or wrong. I want you to ask yourself those questions. And if the answer is no and no and no to the 4, then think this. Do you want that? It's the 2nd question. And how do we build that? Leverage of your income. I encourage all of you. You're now in a world where investments and insurance have merged. I encourage all of you to have 2 revenue streams. Now, some of you are saying, you know what, I just don't like investments. I don't like the whole thing. I don't like to deal with it. I don't want to learn it. Great. Bring in a partner. That's where partnership does make sense. But it doesn't have to be a partner necessarily where you join staff together. You could build a partner. But here's a little hop. You do that, make sure you have the written compensation plan set before you go in the partnership. Number 1, make sure you date your partners before you marry them. What do I mean? Do joint work with them. See if you like, particularly if you're building someone in, taking them out, for investments on your clients, right? I would want to make sure that my clients like that person. Number two, I want to make sure I like the person. And most important, number three, if you're going to build a joint work partnership with someone in the investment world, they must have staff, 2 staff. And I would question them, how long has that staff been with you? If they have turnover at staff, I'd question if I'm going to let them be their partner. All right, why 2? So if someone leaves, that someone can take over that investment paperwork for you. So there's a lot of questions if you're going to build that partnership. But I think all of you should really think about 2 revenue streams. Why? Those clients I have that have, let's say, a consistent investment revenue stream, they're just much more relaxed. You get 2 revenue streams. You're not worried about one or the other. Or some of you may be in the group business. Great. You got 3 revenue streams, but it's just much more relaxed. Okay, peace of mind. How do you get peace of mind? Here's questions to ask yourself. Do you have all A players on your team who are invested into the success of your business? Do you have a written systems manual with all your written procedures and processes for doing business? Now, if you have B players, you're never going to have a peace of mind. And why not? Because you probably always will be taking over. You'll always be filling in the slack for a B player. If they're not invested in your success, if they're leaving 9 to 5, again, we'll talk about, is that the right player for the team? A systems manual, that's your peace of mind. Again, you can go away for a week. People don't have to ask you questions. It's all written out, all procedures, all written, all systems written out. All right, I'm now going to talk about the various models, pros and cons. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure you're asking them in the chat box as we go through this so that you don't forget your questions. Or you can write them next to you, but just don't forget the questions as we're going through this information. Okay, most financial representative advisors have what I call the egocentric model. And this is the model that will never give you peace of mind, will never give you more time, and this is going to limit you on time. So write this down. You can never create wealth by exchanging time for money. Let me say that again. You will never be able to create wealth by exchanging time for money. Why not? Because there's only 24 hours a day and there's only one you. So think about this. I had a guy last week that got it. A team got it. He has a partner, and he and his partner were going out together in every meeting. I said, why are you doing that? And they were building staff that could do it. I said, why are you doing that? He said, well, that's why we're a team, isn't it? I said, no. I said, if I take 1 hour and you're all closing a case, so this is what happened last week. He called me and he says, I get it. Because during 1 hour, he was closing a $30,000 premium case. His partner was bringing in $3 million of new money. One of the staff people had come into the office. They were getting signatures on a long-term case. And during the same hour, the 4th staff was getting signatures on a term conversion. Now that's a team. During 1 hour, you had 4 people on the team all closing and generating revenue. You have to have different thinking to have that model. The egocentric model would say, oh, no, I have to close both those cases. I have to get the paperwork signed on that term conversion. I have to get the paperwork signed on that long-term care. That's the egocentric model. The egocentric model feels the following. They have to do all their case design work. If you do that, guys, the bigger cases you open, you're going to be sitting there for hours and days every week designing cases and not seeing people. Most of you have this problem. You're the only person that can answer sophisticated questions. And why do you have that problem? Because you didn't hire and or train people on your team to be better thinkers than you. You're directing all areas of your business. Why are you directing it? Because you have no systems. You're the only one scheduling your referrals, scheduling your client appointments, and developing centers because you think it's all about you. In my model, I'd have 2 people calling referrals. I'd have 2 other people scheduling appointments. I'd have 2 other people developing centers. Imagine the leverage I have over you if we compete. I come in every Monday, I'm not worried. My calendar is filled. But to do that, you're right, we have to have the right people on board, and we have to be able to grow them, which gets into the next part of this. But remember this, those of you thinking, do you do everything? Get rid of that thinking. Change the thinking, change the model. Now, let's go to the dead model. You were all brought in on this model. It was you, the financial rep and advisor, and you hired an assistant. This is my Achilles heel when someone says that word assistant. You don't want assistants, guys. You don't want an assistant. Think about it. An assistant, by definition, assists you. You think about it. That's not what you want. You want someone that's going to run your business. Isn't that what you want? You want to be able to go away on vacation and not worry. To do that, you can't have an assistant. They'll be calling you when you're on a boat in France. They'll be calling you when you're in Hong Kong. You want to be out on the beach and not worry. They're running it. All right? Does the name matter? Absolutely. Let me tell you what we found about 10 years ago. As I wrote my book, The Turnkey Office System, I began to see that the top producers name their staff different and hire differently. They either called it like director of operations, an office manager, but their first hire was really a take charge person that would run that office. That's what I heard many, many times. Oh yeah, I run the office. He doesn't run it. So when I had people change that title to office manager or director of operations, first of all, we found that a different person answered that ad. So who answered the ad? The person that wanted to run the office. The person that wasn't running out the door necessarily at 5 o'clock. The take charge person. And isn't that what you want? So let's change the title. Here's the other thing. I see that a lot of people will hire part-time, call her part-time. Let me ask you a question. And again, this is another thing that really drives me crazy. Just think in your mind, have any of you seen a part-time caller that has stayed in this industry? I haven't. Have any of you seen a part-time caller that stayed? No. So again, people will hire bright. They're bright, part-time moms, but the problem is they're looking after their kids, they're part-time, after 6 months, they leave you. Or, part-time whatever, they eventually leave you. They go on to something better. They're part-time. Now you're saying, Andrea, what's the problem with that? I'll tell you the problem with that. You trained them. And many of you never wrote down their language. If they were good, you never knew what they were doing. So when they left, there was a big void. Your calendar was filled. And then you had to take your time to find someone new, and then you had to take your time to train them. And that happens about every 6 months. Let's do a little bit of math on that. Let's say you guys, for average, are worth $200 an hour. And so let's say you spend 10 hours, and I think I'm being pretty conservative, just trying to find someone, either placing an ad, answering an ad, interviewing. So right then and there, that's $2,000, okay? And let's say you spent another 20 hours training the person, so that's another $4,000. And then by just working with the person was another 20 hours, that's another $4,000. So you spent, just on this part-time person, I'd say at least $10,000 of your time getting the person up and running, and they walk out the door. Imagine what would have happened if you would have hired a full-time salesperson that wants to grow with you. Full-time that wants to grow with you. Might have spent a little more money, but your investment would stay. That person would stay, and they would grow and get better, which means it's like building a house with a solid foundation. And in the dead model, the part-time, that you have to keep hiring and training, which I know is the one thing you guys don't like to do and you're not good at. So if you have these titles, assistant, part-time, any of that, let's get rid of them. Okay, let's go to the model of today. The model of today, this is where you can start. You start with you, and you start with an office manager, or you start with you and a director of operations. And by the way, here's a little hint. Here's a big hint, guys. I'll ask you this question. Does every one of your staff have a business card? And I want you to think, I'm sure most of you are saying, no, why would they need a card? Well, think about it. You're creating a team, right? So pretend I'm your office manager, and I'm licensed, and I have a card, all right? Well, let's say I go out and meet my friends. First of all, if I have a card, I feel far more important. I'm not assisting you. I'm somebody, and I have a title. I would tell you right now, when we started giving out cards to staff with titles, that day they shined. They smiled. They came dressed different. They came with a different thing, and they talked with me because I interviewed them. That card made all the difference in the world, and the title did mean a big difference to them. But here's the other piece. They said they went out to meetings, and guess what they would hand out? The card. Think about it. They're handing their card out. So if you have a female office manager, and I happen to go with my friends, and my friends happen to be attorneys or different things, I'm handing out my cards, who am I advertising? I'm growing the business. So you're missing a real opportunity, guys, if everyone on your staff doesn't have a card in the title. They're passing out, which in essence, they're advertising for you. But we also found it makes them feel different about themselves. So an office manager, by design, by the way, they're running that office. They're managing that office. So that title makes the difference. So that is the beginning and model. And again, notice you're hearing me say licensing. Let me put one other card today. I would not hire anyone or advise you to hire anyone today if they're not licensed within 3 months. That is life and health, or hire them licensed. And I would say even if they're not doing the investment side, I'd say within 6 months to a year, they need to be investment licensed. I want, because knowledge is power. The more knowledge and power and training that every team member has, the more powerful the team is. So let's go to an advanced team. You have you, then you have a director of operations, again, who's licensed, and they're doing all the paperwork. And they can also, by the way, guys, they can also meet with the clients and do the review meetings. So they, again, become a multiplier of you. You can have the director of insurance. Again, if they're licensed, eventually maybe they get their CHFC, maybe they get their CLU, maybe they get a CFP. Guess we take off from your platter? Those advanced questions. They can answer it. Maybe the director of operations or the director of insurance maybe they're a CPA, and they can do the advanced planning. And then the next one. Notice my title, Director of Sales / Marketing. If you want someone to phone, do not call them a phone or a caller. Please do not do that. If you want someone to phone, don't call them Director of Marketing. Marketing's not sales. So if you're hiring someone that you want them to phone for you, I would first choose the title Director of Sales or Sales Administrator. Here's why. Someone that likes sales likes the phone. Someone that sales expects to be on the phone or send emails. They're sales oriented. Many times they can do marketing, but if someone is a marketing person, they don't generally like sales. I've talked to more people that were hired in for marketing, and they hate sales. I just got an email today, and the woman said, I don't want to schedule these review appointments, these referrals. I don't want to do that. I wasn't hired from that. I don't want that. She was hired for marketing. So titles make a difference. Now notice I also have directors. Again, director, imagine that on their card. They feel good, but director also means they have to take ownership. So when we come to the leadership part, you're not only going to give them a title, but you're also going to give them ownership. That's a whole different ballgame. Let's go to another. Now let's talk about this director of operations. Many people say, wow, that's the real one I want. I really recommend this. So for those of you that you have a turnover of staff, like the worst case I've ever had, it's a true story. He turned over 13 people in 1 year. Think about that. Oh, that's horrible. And he really needs to remove himself. Another one of my clients was so bad. He goes, Andrew, just tell me I'm bad. Do I need to see a shrink? And we started laughing. I said, no, I don't think a shrink, maybe drugs. I said, no, I don't think drugs. I said, you have to be in a different building. We started laughing. It's a true story. Well, he did go to a different building, and he ended up getting virtual assistants. He has one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. It's a true story, and each of them stayed for many years. He couldn't keep staff. Just because he's a nice guy, but he's picky, and if they're right next to him, he drives them crazy. So if they're not next to him, he doesn't have to do that. Now, these are extreme cases. I'm sure most of you on the phone, it won't even apply. So your director of operations, if you truly And you have to be honest, guys, if you can't manage people, if you have anger management issues, or here's another one, well, I pay them. Shouldn't they work for me? Shouldn't they just do what I ask them to do? If you have that thinking, guys, I have a newsflash. Slavery died. And that may be a time that either you, and the last piece to the whole thing is really learning how to be a great leader. If you can't get that piece, then I recommend you need a director of operations. But here's the but to that one. If you do that, you still are the leader. So we're going to talk about, meetings and keeping them. You must still be in the meetings. You can't totally abdicate leadership. It still is your business. And here's why I say that. Again, as I continue to do surveys on how do staff feel about you, here's one thing you never want them to say. Wow, I think I care about his business more than he does. And absentee business owners tend to get that response from their staff. So you've got to be there even with this director of operations model. Okay, let's talk about the sharing of staff model. Again, I many times recommend this if you're new and starting. You can share a staff person with somebody. Now again, you can see this very robust. We've got, and this would be more if you're doing a DBA marketing front, where you've got an investment director, an insurance director, a sales and marketing case management director. So two guys could literally build this business and share all four. Let me tell you the pitfalls to this one, or what you have to be careful about or understand. Before getting into this model, if you're truly going to share a staff, not split someone half time. If you're going to just share a staff person but not share your entire team together, then I recommend that one of you take the staff person in the morning and one of you take the staff person in the afternoon, with the understanding that 6 months down the road or a year down the road, one of you take them full-time, because you want to grow. You want to get to full-time. In this shared staffing model, here's what you have to be careful about. Before you get in this model, you want to really, it's like getting a marriage. So write these questions down. You want to first meet with that other financial rep advisor, and you want to find about what's her philosophy for managing staff. What experience have they had in it? I would definitely interview their current staff to find out what they're really like. Are they loose? Are they overbearing? What are they like? And you have to match your personality to them, because if you get two opposing personalities, I would tell you what, your staff will quit because they'll hate working for both of you. So number one, make sure you're compatible. Number two, you must build through systems. So if you want systems and they don't, I would never go in that partnership. Because here inevitably what happens, you may want it done one way, the other rep may want it done his way, and then that's a disaster. So you must join your systems together. That's imperative. And number three, who's going to manage the staff? Do not underestimate the amount of time it takes to manage staff. It is huge. So if you're going to do this model, no, you are going to spend a lot of time with this other rep, and you better get it right, because if you don't get it right, your staff will leave. You will spend more time managing and talking to the other rep than you will going and seeing people. Okay? Let's go to, again, this is a 4-rep staff model. This is a very advanced model where if you're creating a DBA or you're creating a producer group, this is great. But again, I'm going to say the same thing as to the other model. Do not underestimate the amount of time it takes for you to build this model, develop systems, decide who's leading the team. 4 people can't lead 4 people. That's going to be like herding cats. So you have to decide who's managing a team. And the other little hidden secret, I'll tell you about this model that works best, if you are creating this model, any of you out there, each financial rep advisor needs to have their own key office manager that interfaces then with the shared staff in the middle. Let me say that again. Each key financial rep advisor should have their own key office manager that interfaces with the shared staff in the middle. So there's a little secret that we've learned to make this model work appropriately. Or you get that director of operations that manages all 4. But again, the 4 financial reps advisors must agree on systems. You can't join this and decide you want to do your own system. It will fall apart. You will lose staff. It'll be a colossal disaster. And again, time is money, guys. You lose a lot of money if you try to build this model wrong. You need help on building this model. Okay? The other model I absolutely love is where, and this is a model I think all of you, so if you're a younger rep, look for a senior rep that's thinking about retiring. Why should they retire and put all their clients into the orphan program? That's kind of silly. So junior reps can come on and share, possibly share staff with the senior rep, and go to the understanding that you're going to do joint work together with the understanding that through time, that senior rep can spend less and less time at the office, which means that the staff is then supervised by the junior rep. The junior rep will get the A clients, eventually the senior rep. And why would the senior rep want that? Well, why wouldn't you? I would rather give it to a junior rep and be playing golf once a week and technically never retire, but yet get a percentage of that case. So this junior-senior rep model is a great model. It's a win because the senior can slowly fade away in the sunset. The junior can get A clients and get a developed staff. The junior can learn from the senior. It's just so many win-win situations to this model is to be ridiculous. Future models are this. I work with teams, they have these large models. This is where you've got you at the top. Now you have two offensive people. You have one investments, one insurance. What do we mean by offensive? They're out selling. They're meeting with prospects, or they're meeting with your clients. They're meeting with centers. They could be doing seminars. They're just like you, but again, they're not separate FRs. They're in your team. They're employees, but they're adding to the bottom line. These people generally, how you hire these people is salary plus. They're high plus on the bonus. They don't want to own their own business. They don't want to manage people, but they love the game. They're offensive. Then underneath them, you have 3 defensive people. Notice I have 2 investments, 1 insurance. Everyone's licensed. And why I think it's imperative to have 2 investment people is that investments is a harder person to train. And if you have 1 investment person leave, I want another investment person that's already trained. They're in that spot knowing that can take over. I don't like when models have just 1 investment person. Okay, future model B. This is just another variation of the team. Again, there's you. You have 2 offensive people, 2 defensive people, right? That can be cross-trained. So they both investment, they're cross-trained. And then you can have a director of sales and marketing. Now again, this person can go out and develop centers. This person, again, can go out and they can create, which is big now, that concierge service for the existing clients. That's huge, and that takes a lot of work. This person could be the person that could do all social media, which is the future marketing in this business. So this person, again, can have this totally different role. So these are the models that you can have. The future models that we talked about, what do they give you? Leverage of your time. If you notice, everyone's licensed. What does that give back to you? If you have a licensed, bright team, they'll answer the sophisticated questions of the clients. They'll do the sophisticated prep work, right? They can even go out and create centers. They can even go out and meet with prospects. They leverage your income. Go back to what I talked about before. You can be closing a case at the same time the 2 offensive people are bringing in money or closing cases. At the same time, one of your staff person back at the office is closing a case on a client. You're not alone with an offensive team. You can have your dream of going away to Hawaii for a week and not worry. You can leave on a Friday and play golf or go to a spa and not worry. Peace of mind. Again, even if you have the team, guys, but you don't have the systems written out, and systems for everything, you'll never have peace of mind. So I've also dealt with large teams and there's no systems, and it is mass chaos. There's a retirement income succession plan if you build that into this. So future models give you all that. So let's talk about the next piece to this. Once you have an idea of the model in what you're building, you have to be able to hire the right people. Now, again, this is where people go wrong. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to make this really simple for you. You must have A people on your team. If you want to have an A team, you hire A people. If you hire B people, you're going to have a B team. I'm going to make it that simple. So think about this. If I were the brightest basketball coach in the United States, and I hired all people that were 5'2" in the NBA, I can guarantee you, as brilliant as I am a basketball coach, I'm probably going to lose more games than you'll ever know. If I'm an idiot basketball coach, maybe I'm the dumbest basketball coach in the NBA, but I hire 5 LeBron James, I guarantee you I'm probably going to win that NBA. I'm going to win that championship, aren't I? Think about this. Change your thinking. I'm going to go back. Do you remember I said that I had a nationally rated track team? Let me tell you a dirty secret about that. Makes me sound pretty good, right? I still remember when I inherited that team. Notice I said inherited that team. I thought, I don't know that much about track. I played volleyball, right? What am I going to do? I learned one thing. Don't forget, I studied top coaches, trained underneath them. The one thing that was pounded into me is this. As a head coach, you're going to be as good as your assistant coaches. So I said, okay, I'm going to hire 4 assistant coaches that are 10 times smarter than me in all the various areas of track. And I did. I would tell you, all 4 of my assistant coaches knew 10 times more than I did in their area. In fact, one, his name was Lawrence Seagraves. He was actually on Sports Illustrated. Seriously, for training sprinters, he was brilliant. They always were, you know, sometimes I thought they're always sort of, the newspapers would always quote all of us and quote him frequently. So how was I smart? I knew I couldn't coach 160 girls. No one can. I wanted to win, though. I wanted what I wanted. I wanted the dream. How did I get it? Hired 4 people. Left my ego way to the curve. Hired 4 people smarter than me. Guys, leave that egocentric model alone. You want to learn, you want to hire people smarter than, better than in all the various areas than you. So how do you do that? You first go back, change your thinking. Get rid of the assistant thinking. So number 1, I'm going to tell you this. I would not hire anyone unless they agree to get licensed. If they don't get licensed, that's a deal breaker. Number 2, I wouldn't hire anyone unless they want to grow. Remember, this isn't where you, the advisor, takes the training courses, goes to all the annual meetings, or goes to all the training. Your staff should grow that. That's what I started developing when I developed the system for the employee growth plan. Think about it. It's logical. Why are you the only person on the team growing? That's an egocentric model. You should have a plan for every staff person growing and learning. If they don't want to grow and learn when you begin that hiring process, they're not coming on your team. So let's look at this hiring system. And I'm going to go through this. And again, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of details, as you can imagine, everything I'm talking about. So again, I'm going to briefly go over these steps, knowing that there's many more details in every piece to this that we are not going to get to today. So number 1, you're going to place the ad based on the corporate hierarchy chart. And in that corporate hierarchy chart, you're going to say what each person does. So if you're hiring someone that's going to be doing insurance, you're going to say that they're going to be director of insurance, and they handle everything from underwriting to customer service to policies to be delivered to filling out apps, whatever you're going to have them do, right? But what I'd also say is that you prefer that they're licensed. If not ready for this, they must be licensed within the first 90 days of hiring. All right, so you place the ad. Now, where do you place this ad? That's always the question. Where do I find these great people? Well, we don't have time to go through all the places, but remember, it's online. So whether it's in Craigslist or Monster, or your own company may have places. or Indeed.com, or there's just tons of different places. You Career Builder, you place the ad, but you've got to place it online, or various colleges. So there's a whole program for where you place these ads. The title makes the difference, right? First thing you do is they can send you the resume. That's the first thing they do. You go through the resumes. After going through the resumes, the next thing you do, you want to call them on the phone first to invite them in. But really that first phone interview, you're screening. If they can't speak English, or if they can't speak on the phone very well, you can't hire them. It's that simple. Because that means there's someone on your team that can't speak to your clients. Well, that's not going to work. So my first thing would be, the first test is, can they speak on the phone? If they pass that, you invite them in. When you invite them in, they're sitting in your lobby, okay? And they fill out an employee application. In my book, The Turnkey Office System, there is an employee application. And why do I use an application? Because resumes lie. I don't want to say they lie. I'll say they tell half-truths. So in the application, I'll ask things like, do you have a driver's license? I might have specific dates of employment. There's a lot of questions in there that I might want to know. Have you been in the military? Have you been convicted of a crime? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want to know about this person before I hire them. At the bottom of that application, it states, if you lied on any of these, it's grounds for termination. This is a true story. I had someone tell me that they gave the person the application when they started filling out, they left it on the bench and walked out when they got to a certain section of it. So we want to find out about these people. Now, 4, you must test them. Please, please put that in caps. This is where the mistake is made. What you guys tend to do is, your great Uncle Louie had a niece, and he says she's great, and so you go and interview her, and you like her, and you say, great, hired, because, whew, I'm done. I found someone. She's nice. But then she starts, and after a week, you find out she can't write. You find out she has spelling errors, and she can't write. She sends emails to your clients that can't write. Oops, now what do? And then most of you do this. You don't fire her. You try and work with her. And then you end up doing it again. You end up doing everything. Or if you have other staff, they're frustrated. So what do you test for? Depending on what skill set you're looking for, you need to test them everything. Everyone needs to be computer tested. I don't care what they tell you they're good at, computer test them. If you use a lot of Excel, test them on Excel. You need to test them on writing. So how do you do a writing test? I would type up a little scenario, give it to them, and then I'd get them on the computer and have them write out that scenario and send me an email. Let me give you an example. I give them a scenario, something like, send an email to Dr. and Mary Smith. Tell them I need to reschedule my meeting for this coming week, and please congratulate them on their son John graduating from college. That would be, and I'd give them that written on a piece of paper. I would have them go on my computer, and of course they're sending an email back to me. But I'm looking, how are they composing that email? I'd be looking for things like, notice I said Dr. and Mary, Dr. Smith and his wife Mary. I want to know, how do they address that? I want to know, do they type in full sentences? I want to see how they format it. I'm looking for that. And if they misspell words, if they can't format it, I have a second test. And here's my thing about writing. They flunk 3 writing tests, you can't hire them. Can't hire them. Not unless you decide you or someone on your team to be editing every email. Reference checking, number 5. Okay? I'm going to give you the telltale question. When you call someone for a reference check, most people that have been trained, they're going to be on guard, right? So I'd say, hey, Mr. Smith, this is Andrea Bullard calling, and I was giving you as a reference for John Doe. John said that he recently worked for you. Do you have a few minutes for me to ask you some questions? And probably he's going to say, no, it's fine. I'm going to say, okay, if he walked in your office today, would you rehire him? That's your first question. Now, you're not looking for the answer to the question as much as you're looking for, does he hesitate before answering? Because think about this. If he hesitates and says, oh yeah, I'd rehire him. If everyone hesitates, here's your question. Why are they hesitating? There's something in that hesitation. If all three of them go, I'd hire him in second, he's looking, wow, absolutely second. If all three people say that, you know you probably have a good candidate. All right. Once they pass the reference check, once they pass all the written tests, they have the employee application, the phone interview, then you have the long interview with them. And this is where we don't have time today, but there's very detailed questions I have. We've learned to ask certain questions to find out more about this person. And these questions are very detailed depending on the position, so the questions matter. Let's say they pass that long test, and you must be the person as the owner, even if you have a director of an operations director, you still must do this. They pass that test. If you have other staff, I'd have that staff interview them, and again, I'd have them take them out to lunch without you there. Why? Because interviewing staff people tend to be more relaxed. They might tell different things. This past year, I had a staff person interview a candidate, and at that luncheon interview, the candidate goes, oh yeah, it was snowing a lot, and I just thought, I'm not going to drive to work. I just called in sick. Well, that was it. That person didn't get hired. So you really want, now again, I'm going to say this. If a staff person ends up, let's say you have that person that's been with you for years, and every person they interview, they're bad, 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 then I call that staff person the German Shepherd. They're going to be more a bury you to hire than helping you, and then I might then take that person out of the way. Number 8, you must do a background check before you hire someone. So let's say you get to that thing where everything checks out. You must bring them in for a formal offer. And in that formal offer, you must have their written position down. You must have their salary. I would also have the employee manual written out. Now I would want them to read that employee manual. And they have to sign that and accept the offer. And the employee manual also states that they accept all the terms of working here. And what's an employee manual? It will say things like, these are your vacation days, you have to get to work at 8 o'clock, and it has everything. It outlines how they dress. These are the things that can make teams not work. You're talking about that. You want them to sign off. So you want this to be very official. Let them sign off and accept the offer. In the next piece of the system, which we don't have time to do today, we go through how to bring them on that first day. So let's take a look for a second right now, again, through the 28 systems. So we talked today about your vision, talked today about your corporate hierarchy chart, hiring, a little bit about the employee manual. I help people through systems through what's your first day of work. You have a written training program, exact order. You can go through all this client review system, referral system, social media marketing plan, marketing leadership. That's huge, by the way. And in a few minutes, by the way, what I'm going to reveal is the following. I'm going to reveal the #1 thing you can do to get your staff to absolutely buy into your success. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't do this, your staff will never buy into you. So in a minute, I'm going to review that. The one thing you must do to get your staff to buy in, and if you don't do that, your staff will never buy into you. But let's stop for 1 second, because I've given you a lot of information in a short period of time, and I don't want to drown you. I want you to think for a second. You're now 3 partial steps closer to your dream, but you've got 28 more steps to go. Go back to the beginning and think, why did you get in this business? And ask yourself, why are you here? What's missing? Are you initially trying to build? Do you have a team? You want to build bigger? Are you overwhelmed? Do you feel everything falls on you? Do you feel you're not seeing enough people in the day because you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing? Think about that. And I think you can all see how your systems and your team are your steps towards your goal. Your systems are your path. That's what the top producers, as I studied them, did differently. They had better team members. They had better systems. They had less stress and made more fun. They did the one thing you all want to do every day, just see people. Why? Because they had that infrastructure. They had the team to do that. So my question to all of you, do you want to build slow and try and figure it out on the way through trial and error? Or do you want me to show you how to build your business quickly? Because you can try and figure it out, and let me again note something to you. It's taken me 10 years, and I'm still working on refining and adding new systems. Again, I've done this through interviewing, creating a national study group for team members, going into team coaching, taking a lot of time. So I want you to think about the following. You're going to fail at the following, and your dream will always be in the future if the following doesn't happen. If you are not building the right business model for you. So if you've got that egocentric business model and say, I just need to work harder and harder and harder, you can work harder and harder and harder and still never feel free, and still never feel stress-free, and still never build leverage. And there's a lot of guys out there, and they could even get you $400,000 premium, but they're still stressed. Their staff may still leave them, and they still have the same problems, and no matter, their model is wrong, and they'll repeat that till the day they die or leave the business. Your dream's going to always be in the future until you decide you're going to hire A players. You'll always be limping with a B team. You'll always limp unless you learn the hiring system that's going to attract, test, and retain A players. And there's a whole art to this. Trust me, I've been in there working with how do we retain A players. Some of you, I'm sure, on this call right now have A players in your team and you don't know it. Or worse yet, you have A players on your team. I just got an email from one today that don't feel they have a future with you, and they're going to leave. That, you all know, is like a kick in the stomach, and you don't see it coming. You're never going to have your dream unless you learn how to become a great leader. And I'm going to teach you in a minute one of the key things to become a great leader. Because you can hire A people, but if you don't know how to lead them, they're out that door. Some of you actually have fears of becoming a business owner, and I help walk you through that. I realized that through coaching people, like, what are we so afraid of? Most of you should be probably more afraid of the fact that you'll never live your dream. That you're going to stay where some of you are at now. To me, that should be some of you, again, I don't know, your biggest fear that either you're miserable where you are, you're good at where you're at, you want to get to be bigger, but you'll never get there. That should be your biggest fear. The thing I want for all of you, you've got to have a written business systems manual. Written systems manual, that's key, and that's what I help you do, because most of you guys, I know you well enough to know this, you'd rather have a root canal than go through the details of this business, right? I know that. That's one thing you hate to do. I'll do it. I do it with your team. I help them through that. So how can I help you? What I've created, because some guys aren't ready, or they're financially not ready to invest in private coaching with me, and I do private team coaching. And so for those of you that you're at the beginning, or here's the stage you're at, here's what I've created. An 8-week teleseminar course where we're going to walk through a system a week. And here's the beauty of this course: from your office, or it could be your car, or where you're at, all you're going to do is call in. Or you can get online like you are now, and there's going to be a PowerPoint. But you might say, Andrea, I'm so busy, you know, what happens if I can't be there? Well, guess what? I'm recording every call, and you will have access through a private portal to get that. And at any time, you can do it every day if you want. You and or your team can watch every week multiple times the seminar. So even if you're not there, your team can be there. You can go watch it from your home. Now, most of these seminars in my industry are anywhere between $2,999, or many of them are $1,999. That's kind of the going rate for this sort of seminar. But I'm sensitive to some of you, you're building, and I'm sensitive to the fact that, you know, investing in it can't be hard because I'm committed to your success. So here's what I'm willing to do. Regularly, the seminar is $797. Today only, if anyone signs up, you can sign up for $797. Now I want you to think about that. That's less than $100 a week. Less than $100 per session, and you get all this done. To sign up, you can go on my website, which is right there, my name, AndreaBullard.com, and all you do is click the 8-week teleseminar course at the bottom, scroll to the bottom, and sign up. It'll walk you through. If you have problems, I want you to contact me, but that's how we sign up. So for only $797 today only. So I reward people that take action. If you wait till tomorrow, it's going to go back to $997. But I also like to reward people that take action, so I'm going to add some bonuses. For the first 10 people who sign up tonight, I'm going to email you a copy of my Turnkey Office System book. I'm going to also email you a copy of my Referral Skill book. And I'm going to add in one other item. I'm going to add in an hour of a Q&A, question and answer, so I can first start with what's your business model. Now I charge $350 an hour. When people call me to do that, you can come on, the first 10 can come on, and that means it's not going to necessarily be a big group, and we're going to be able to answer your model. So total bonus of $459 for the first 10. You've got to sign up by today. Okay? Wanted to put forward some testimonials, and you can read these. I won't read through them. Lee Duckworth is a phenomenal guy. A couple of years ago, I started with him. He had sort of the egocentric, you know, the ego model. We changed. He has 3 people on his team now are seeing his clients without him being in there. You can see they more than doubled in size and more than tripled in revenue. It's been amazing. He's got a business. He's now taking Fridays off this year. I want to talk to you about a younger model. There's a guy 2 years ago in New York City, and his production was maybe $149,000, and he was, I really liked him. His staff was leaving him frequently, so I went up to him. I said, "Let me help you build this. I know you want to build." He had a young, 1 child at the time, so he came on board the private coaching, and I first made him think of. We talked about the model he wanted to build. And we talked about his first hire. We actually hired a young woman right out of college, but she was bright. We had her going. And let's fast forward 2 years. He now has 2 staff people. He has an investment revenue stream, an insurance revenue stream. This year, his insurance revenue stream is going to finish close to $600,000, and I forget how many assets I think he will have gathered in, close to 7 or 8 million this year alone. That's within 2 years. The guy has an entire system manual written. He has 8 players. They're both licensed on both sides. Now, to me, that's a business. Could he have done that by himself? I'm going to say this unequivocally, completely not. He didn't know how. We just expedited every week. I spoke with his team, helped him get everything going. So this is where you can expedite it. Go back to the dream. You can either do this alone, try and figure it out, get frustrated, do the one thing you don't like to do, the details, or come on board and having someone work with you and your team how to do it. So I'm going to say this. You guys should all stop torturing yourself. Let me help you. Your time is money. I really would like to help each and every one of you build an amazing dream so you can enjoy life and stop wasting your time and money trying to figure it out. Let me do it. All right. I mentioned before this that I was going to give you the secret to great leadership. Let's reveal it. Ready? Here it is. Simple. Number 1, that's the secret. You must hold weekly team meetings. Yes, that simple. Now, what does that mean? That means that your team meeting is on the same day, same time, every week for the entire year. Let me say that again. Same day, same time of the week for the entire year. Now, let me tell you why that's important. And I've gotten feedback from team members, and here's what they say. They feel so insulted by you guys when you just don't show it's not important. One team member said to me, really? We're not important to him. He's doing this alone. He doesn't even honor, we're sitting here and he's not even here. Think how that would feel if you were in their shoes. Number two, the teams that actually hold these team meetings, it's like they're slowed down to move faster. They get all the information out because they have a whole team agenda they go through. They're not there for 2 hours. They get it out. The team members control it, and everyone feels they're in the know. It's also your team to lead. You're there. You're excited. You're jazzed up. You're moving forward. That team feels that. Let me do things you don't want to do. Number two, you must never be late for these meetings. When you're late for the meetings, they just feel you don't care about them. And therefore, hey, they say, if he doesn't care enough to be on time, then what do I care? Why should I care more than he does? Third one, never, ever answer your phone during these meetings. I don't care if an A client calls in, you never answer that phone. In fact, I would like everyone's cell phones put away during these team meetings. I cannot tell you how important that is. Put them away and never sit at your desk. You should be in a conference room, by the way. Preferably everyone looking at a large screen, and so no one can look at their email, no one's looking at their phones, everyone's engaged, everyone's exchanging information. Lastly, you should be totally engaged in this, and the last thing, totally prepared, as should all your team members. Now that's so simple, isn't it? But I can tell you how many people are not doing that. And let me share an example. This guy in New York City couldn't keep staff. Finally, one year, he caved in. He said, all right, I'm going to do what you told me to do, and I'm going to keep the team meetings. After 4 months, he was in a meeting with me with a whole group of other FRs, and he screamed, he said, I will tell you, the team meetings have made my business explode, have allowed me to keep staff members, and I wished I'd listened to Andrea 3 years ago. So this is the secret. If you want your team to buy into your business, respect them. Be there. Hold weekly team meetings, because that's running a business. That's not you, the egocentric model. It's you, the team. Okay, so I said that in the end that I would answer questions. So I'd like you right now to ask me questions, and hopefully my technology is enough that I can read these. So someone said they're trying to sign up but cannot. If you want to sign up and cannot, anyone that does that, I want you to send me an email. My email is Andrea@AndreaBullard.com. Give me your name. Give me, when we're done with this, I'll reconnect with you, and I'll help you get signed up. Because remember, the first 10 get the bonuses. So if you can't, just shoot me an email. All right? Please look at your chat box to the right, because this is the time that I want to give back to you to answer any questions you have. It could be about hiring. It could be about your model. What questions? It could be about staffing. What questions do you all have? Type it in the chat box, and I'll be able to see it. Okay, some people are asking what day. The seminar is starting next week on Wednesday, the 13th. It's at 1 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. Now again, you might say, oh, I can't make the first one, I've already got a meeting. Remember, that doesn't matter because they're going to be recorded. So that answers that question. Okay, commonly, here's another question. Do we get to answer questions? So yes, during the actual seminar, at the end of each week, I'm going to unmute you so people can actually will be able to talk and ask questions, because we'll be working on a topic, and then you'll be executing every week. You'll be working on that system, and then you may execute the system or write the system. Your staff may do it, and you may have questions. And then what I'll be doing, I'll be live, obviously, on those calls with you, and I'll be able to answer your questions, or I'll be able to answer your staff's questions. Okay, so here's another question. What if my staff is brand new, just started for a month? Should I sign up for the course? The answer is absolutely, positively yes. If you have a brand new staff person, I used to say years ago, wait 4 months. I realized if you have a brand new staff person, after 4 months, they already have bad habits formed. So I like to get staff people actually after about the first month of them working for you, whether they're experienced or not, is a fantastic time for them to sign up for the program. Do not wait for 6 months. Please do not wait. Other questions? Okay, so to close this off, if no one has, if you have another, I'm going to finish this. If you have a question, I'll answer one more. But to close this off, I'm going to share a personal story because I think this is going to help put everything in perspective for everyone on this call. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, and I grew up in a family of 5. I was 4th out of 5. And my parents actually were born and grew up in the same town in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. And my parents were intellectually gifted and got married right out of high school. My father did not go to college because he stayed home to take care of his mother who was sick and helped put his brothers and sisters through college. So he ended up starting in the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, and he started at the very bottom, so he worked himself up to the bank. So I loved my family. It was a, lived in a small home, 2 bedrooms, 5 kids. Most my dad ever made in his lifetime was $13,000. My dad worked himself up when I was a freshman in college, went to UW-Madison, and he worked himself. He was a loan officer in the bank, helped, gave business owners, farmers loans, and he was about to maybe become president. Got a call in March, my 2nd semester, that my father died of a heart attack. It was a very big blow to me on many different levels because I loved him. I knew him as my dad. But in the next 3 days, I was about to learn about my dad in a whole different way. What I learned from my dad in the next few days was this: we could not handle the flowers that flew throughout the entire country. Grown men stood in line for hours, sobbing on my shoulder. I was only 18, saying, if it weren't for your dad, I wouldn't have my farm. If it weren't for your dad, I wouldn't have my business. And what I discovered during that time, that what my dad did, instead of foreclosing on loans, he would meet with that farmer and he would help him with his business plan. He would meet with that business owner. And I remember he'd disappear on Sundays and nights, but that's what he was doing to help them. That was a great man. Now, there was other things I learned. My dad had a major heart attack at 45. He was uninsurable after that. So what that meant for me was that at 18, I was financially on my own. Since I was 18 years of age, I've never known what it's been like to go back and say, do you have money? I didn't. In fact, I remember in graduate school, I put myself through graduate school, obviously. I remember I didn't have money for food, and I thought, what am I going to do? And I went home and asked my mom, and she started crying. I said, oh, no, I made up some excuse. I wanted to buy a sweatshirt or something like that. And when I'm driving back to college, I thought, oh, what am I going to do? And then I thought, dates. I'll get dates. They'll take me to dinner. That's seriously what I did. So I understand your business at a very deep level since I've been 18, the importance of it. Because after 45, my dad was uninsurable. The most he ever made was $13,000. I know the importance of what you do. That's probably why I'm so passionate about what you do. When you lived it, you get it at a whole different level. But there's another piece to the story that I want to share with you. I'm going to go back to my dad and men crying in line. The day we buried him, they closed the town down. There were men standing in line, just like if I was president, on the streets as his casket went by. It was truly so moving as to be silly. And what that did for me was this: I realized what difference one man makes. That my dad, instead of foreclosing on loans, he made a difference in people's lives. To this day, people still talk about my dad. To this day, they still will tell me what he did for them many years later. So I'm going to share with you my mission. That impacted my heart, obviously, on a deep level. And my mission has been to help all of you. I realize that business is not about money. It's really about what we do for people. And I'll tell you, my career, I was talking with someone today about this. Nothing makes me smile ear to ear when I realized I helped many people in this business hit 7 figures, but I also helped their staff grow and make more money. I helped their staff grow and get licensed and grow. I help change people's lives. I help people believe in themselves. I help them grow their business. It would be so great. My dad was just such a great model for me. So I want to share with you, I really want to help all of you from my heart of hearts. I really want to make a difference so that when I die, I know I made just a little thumbprint difference in this world. If you need my help, please contact me. You can have all my contact information on my website. I want to thank all of you for joining me. Thank you for giving me your time. And please reach out for me if I can help you. But the biggest thing I wish for all of you, you sign up for this course. Sign up for today. Get these bonuses and get your dream life. That's what I'm here to do. If I can answer any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, thank you again for your time. I appreciate all of you. God bless all of you, and have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.